With the release of Godzilla X Kong, we now have 5 movies in the Monsterverse, so today I'll be ranking all of them from the worst to the best. Be sure to subscribe for more movie rankings like this one and leave your own list in the comments. Now this was a pretty tough list to make because I think this franchise is really consistent. All of these are enjoyable movies, so with that said, let's get started. In last place, Godzilla vs. Kong. Now this is still a super entertaining movie, especially when you get to that final showdown. Easily one of the best fights in the franchise, but it does take quite a while to get there. Now these movies are always well known for having weak human characters and plots, and that is the case in this one too. They are all really boring, and you get this whole conspiracy side plot that whenever the movie cuts back to those characters, I just want to go back to the thing we came to these movies for, the monsters. Also, for a movie titled Godzilla vs. Kong, it mainly focuses on Kong, which kind of made sense seeing as he has only had one movie, but in the end, because it humanizes him more, it just makes Godzilla seem like the villain, and massively sidelines him. I do like how they managed to tie all the previous movies together, and this is still a very consistent franchise, so I like this one too. Then we have Godzilla, King of the Monsters. Now this is a frustrating one because there's so much here that is very cool, but it is all bogged down by once again having terrible human characters and a bad plot. The villain's motivation and scheme in this movie is so insanely over the top and cartoonish. So because of how dumb it is, I just can't buy into the main plot at all. Then this one is just kind of missing that star power that the previous movies had, which probably doesn't make a huge difference, but it can definitely help make bland characters stand out more. But on the other hand, this movie might have the best monster villain and best fight scenes out of all of these movies. Combining the awesome action with stunning visuals makes the fights really memorable. Then you also get a lot of fight scenes, more than most of the other movies have, so that sells at that part. I wish it did the other stuff better though. In third place, Godzilla X Kong. While this one's fights might not be as good as the previous movies, I think this one just slightly improves upon some of the issues I had with the movies lower down. For one, I love that most of the runtime is spent in Hollow Earth, which makes this one stand out more. Then because of the unique environment and expanded world building, it didn't even bother me when the film cut to the human side plot this time around. Exploring the civilization and lore was pretty cool. On that note, it was great to finally see Kong's civilization, which of course introduces a pretty good villain. That is another thing I liked about this movie. There was no human villain. We got to see 2-bit monsters fight 2-bit monsters, and that is enough. At the end of the day, this movie's purpose was to entertain, and that is what it did. Next up, Godzilla. This one can really always be tied for first place. I went back and forth on which one is my favorite because this is a really good movie. Mainly because it actually takes itself seriously. It is a movie where you actually feel the danger of what is going on. It isn't just monsters punching each other to get cheers from the audience. Instead, it placed a lot more emphasis on how terrifying it would be if this actually happened. Obviously, human characters are big problems in these movies. I thought they were pretty good in this film. Especially Bryan Cranston's character, which they actually give some pretty emotional moments. Too bad he was killed off so early on, which is probably the movie's main flaw. Then like most of the movies on this list, the cinematography is excellent, and it feels very different and more realistic in this one. Now it isn't perfect, I think all of these movies are enjoyable, but none of them have fully gone to that great tier just yet. Like Godzilla seems pretty sidelined, but it's still one of the franchise's best movies. Coming in at first place is Kong Skull Island, a movie that is really better than it has any right to be. It still has some of the problems of the other movies, like Kong himself isn't much of the focus for of the runtime, but what this movie really excels at is Skull Island itself. The creature designs, environments, everything has such a cool and otherworldly look to it. Even though all of these movies are very good looking, this one feels so distinct due to its stylized direction. And I absolutely love all of the Apocalypse Now inspiration. Then it manages to have some pretty good characters. A lot of that is due to the fantastic cast that can elevate generic characters and make them so fun to watch. Samuel L. Jackson playing a great villain, and the movie even manages to have some satisfying and emotional character moments, like the soldier's return in the epilogue. So a really good monster movie and just good adventure movie in general. So for these reasons, Skull Island is the best Monsterverse film.